Thank you. It's great to be here. Liogé was actually 2 years old when Liogé passed away. So just a side note. Okay, I'll be speaking on Liogé's field collecting and field photographs. There was a picture here, but it's not visible, so you can use your imagination. Alain Liogé was a French botanist whose research primarily focused on the Caribbean region, specifically Cuba, the Dominican Republic, and Puerto Rico. Liogé's research was extensive and prolific. He was a Guggenheim Fellow for Studies in Plant Science, as well as an affiliate of the New York Botanical Garden, Smithsonian Institute, Harvard University, University of Puerto Rico, the National Botanic Garden of Dominican Republic. Over the course of his career, he published widely and described more than 300 species to science. It's a map of Cuba. Liogé grew up in the south of France in a small village in the mountains. In 1935, at the age of 18, he moved to Cuba to do missionary work as a brother, primarily with the La Salle Brothers, which is a Catholic teaching order that serves the underprivileged and promotes natural history studies. Once in Cuba, most of Liogé's time was devoted to teaching biology at the Colegio de La Salle, which was located in the neighborhood of El Vedado in Havana. Liogé's interest in botany began more as a leisure activity, something he did in his spare time outside of his responsibilities as a brother. These two concurrent interests, botany and his work as a brother, became a unique way of life for him. During the school year, he taught at Colegio de La Salle, and then in the summers, he primarily collected plants throughout various remote regions of Cuba. Eventually, Liogé chose to pursue his doctoral studies in the natural sciences at the National University of Havana. While teaching at Colegio de La Salle, Liogé met Brother Léon, who was also a botanist. Brother Léon became a mentor and colleague Liogé worked closely with for more than 16 years. The two frequently engaged in field research together, both fascinated with the plants of Cuba, particularly palms and grasses. Collecting together as brothers allowed them to discuss botany as well as Catholicism while out in the field. The specific nature of their collecting together transformed their field research into a practice that was social and that facilitated a certain interweaving of these two disciplines, becoming a distinct way of knowledge sharing. In conjunction with collecting, Liogé and Léon worked on writing the Flora of Cuba, which these photographs are taken from. This is a 5-volume seminal work of Léon's that he began relatively late in his life at the age of 70. They co-authored 2 of the 5 volumes, with Léon writing the first one and Liogé completing the last 2. In between collecting and teaching, Léon and Liogé worked on the flora until Léon's death in 1955. Liogé finished the remaining volumes during his final years in Cuba. For more than 25 years, from 1935 to 1960, Liogé conducted botanical research in the field as a brother, both alongside Léon as well as on his own. Now, here's Liogé. This is Liogé at the New York Botanical Garden, the herbarium there. Following the revolution, Liogé left Cuba and moved to New York to continue his research as curator of the West Indies at the New York Botanical Garden, as well as to teach biology at the Brothers of the Christian Schools in Manhattan. With the exception of 1 year when he lived in Puerto Rico for research and to teach, Liogé lived primarily in New York until 1968, at which point he moved to the Dominican Republic after having received a National Science Foundation grant to study the flora of the Dominican Republic. During this time, while living in the DR, Liogé met his wife, Perfa. Although their eventual marriage changed his affiliation with the church, he continued to be very involved with it throughout his life. This is a map of the DR. Of the many research trips that throughout Liogé's career, and part of what distinguishes him among botanists is a collection of field photographs that he took over a 15-month period between 1968 and 1969. During this time, Liogé conducted extensive field research throughout the Dominican Republic. Over the course of this research, he took field photographs of the plant specimens that he collected while out in the field. What sets this particular collection of field photographs apart from others is that they are 2-inch by 3-inch Kodachrome prints, which reflect a specific region and a period of field research. Toward the very end of his NSF grant in 1969, Liogé sent his field photographs, along with the plant specimens he collected, from the Dominican Republic to the William and Linda Sear Herbarium at the New York Botanical Garden, which is where this photograph is taken from, to be part of their collection. This is where the field photographs are currently held. Each one is affixed to a specimen sheet, along with the original plant specimen, collection information, as well as a small map for noting the locality, and then each specimen sheet is filed within the herbarium. Now, to give you an idea of these specimen sheets of his, I'm not sure how well can you see that. This is Orchidaceae, the orchid family. You can see there's a small map, the specimen, collection information, and then the 2-inch by 3-inch Kodachrome print. Here's another. This is the Rosacea family. Again, a map, collection information, specimen, photograph. Orchid family. Cactaceae, cactus. And I don't remember the common name of this family. Anyway. So when Liogé returned from his research, he published his findings in a New York Botanical Garden publication, and so I will read the introduction to his findings. After spending about 15 months in the field and collecting some 6,300 field numbers in the Dominican Republic, I report some of the undescribed species and the new records which I have discovered in the island. It seems strange that an island that was the first collecting ground for botanists in America should yield such a large amount of undescribed species. This can be explained by the fact that fewer botanists have visited the Dominican Republic and that they have worked there for shorter periods than in Haiti. I have been able to reach some regions that no botanists have ever seen, and to visit some parts of the country where collections had been made only once. Okay, now to give you an idea, a closer look at these field photographs. This is Cactaceae. And he used the method of writing the specimen collection number on the frame or border of the field photograph. Malvaceae. Again, Malvaceae. Agavaceae. Agave. Begoniaceae. Orchidaceae. Again, Malvaceae. Mimosaceae, and Asteraceae, which is a very large family. So what follows is partly grounded in the ideas of David Turnbull as well as Helen Varan. When a botanist goes out into the field to collect, as Liogé did, through a range of actions and processes, he synthesizes an array of information as he goes. Typically, when out collecting, a botanist collects within a specific region. This is selected ahead of time. The criteria for choosing a region varies. It usually relates to seed dispersal, plant distribution patterns, and past collecting. Field collecting involves geography, studying its characteristics. It requires reading many elements within the environment in relation to each other. It involves traversing the land, moving through a range of climatic, ecological, and vegetative zones and perceiving variation, synthesizing dispersed and distorted stimuli while in motion. The specific type of field acuity through specific collecting behaviors and activities is a form of knowledge production. More precisely, it is a type of knowledge production that is spatial, co-produced with the environment while moving through it. When field photographs are taken while collecting in the field, they become a reflexive and indexical trace of this particular type of knowledge in motion. Field photographs are central to plant science research. They are taken in situ primarily for two reasons. The first relates to the specific environment of collection. Some aspect of the geography, microclimate, and ecosystem of the specimen location is valuable to the identification of the specimen. The second pertains to the structure of the plant. Some physical element of the specimen will not be preserved in its collecting, pressing, and drying. Once a plant is located for collecting, a photograph is typically taken before the plant is collected. Field photographs include both images of the plant as well as habitats. Plant science field photographs, whether a 35mm slide or a born digital image, typically have metadata either written on them or embedded in a digital file. This metadata can provide the date, time, location GPS, and photographer botanists. The associative field collecting material like field notebooks, field notes, and specimen collection information can also provide correlative dates, locations, and specific information concerning the botanist's field research. An additional aspect of plant science field photographs that is central to their value is that field photographs are visual records. They provide a visual trace of an event, which is evident in the image. This event is unique and unrepeatable. While field photographs are valuable as single records, part of their value is in relation to each other and the collection material associated with them. Likewise, each botanical field photograph represents a very particular kind of information. It is a type of multiple record. It reflects many things: a point in a botanist's field research, a locality within a given region, a botanist's view at a particular moment, a technology used for recording and studying data. It is also a record of the plant's history, where the plant is part of a larger ecosystem, geography, climate, and geological time that continues. These environmental elements that the field photograph reflects are continually in flux. In this way, the field photograph becomes a record, by way of comparison, of their change, of that which has continued to change since the photograph was taken. Any point along a continuum can provide information concerning the larger system that the continuum is part of, be it ecological or technological. Each field photograph marks a point within diverging and overlapping trajectories: plant science research, photograph technology, plant species adaptation, habitat transformation, land conservation, climate change, a particular botanist's research, a brother's lifetime. The field photograph makes the plant's history present, and in so doing makes it relevant across time. Likewise, the field photograph is a discursive record, which approximates and reflects the botanist's perception, the landscape within a given region, and the camera technology at the time. In this way, the field photograph traces three types of history: knowledge, geography, and technology, which triangulate dialectically through time in the form of a record. Collectively, field photographs construct an evolving view, a visual chronology, of the transformation of geography, ecology, climate, land use, and human development in specific regions around the world. They are a progressive view that shows a range of environments that are thriving at different levels over time. In this way, they are an invaluable resource for numerous research fields because they represent a century-and-a-half land survey on a global scale. What is interesting about field photographs, specifically as visual records, is that it does not necessarily order information in the way that writing down a specific taxonomic name, location, or elevation does. Field photographs, while they include a certain amount of information within the frame, are still disordered with regard to how the information is interpreted. Likewise, before a botanist takes a photograph, as with Auevrè, he observes, pauses, pivots, meaning that he is in motion. In this way, the field photograph, while reflecting his specific angle and view, is also a trace of his movement and thus knowledge and motion. Additionally, the plant and the environment, which co-constitute each other and which are the focus of the photograph, are also alive, relational, and variable. Thus, the photograph comes out of and reflects intersecting information. This dynamic of information does not cease once a photograph is taken. The photograph does not still the information nor make it fixed. An image emerges, co-produced by the photograph and the observer of the photograph, meaning that it arises from a visual exchange between the image and the viewer of the image. Therefore, there is a certain disorder to a photograph, making it always somewhat indefinite. Photographs have a way of continuing beyond their frames because of how we engage with them. They are dialogic with memory, narratives, stories, imaginaries, relations, and other images, all of which are integral to knowledge. Likewise, in turning to one of David Turnbull's texts in which he discusses maps in relation to knowledge, he says, Our experience and our representations are formative of each other and are only separable analytically. This applies to images as well as imaginaries, to field collecting as well as field photographs. Our experience becomes our representations, and vice versa. Their dialogue never ceases, and they aren't strictly separable. Likewise, both our scientific sense of nature and our more formal understandings have largely been constructed with the lens and images. Representations are part of how we actualize, articulate, and understand our worlds. Again, Turnbull. It is now recognized that theories and observations are inseparable. To see science as a field of practices rather than a network of observations, or a network of theories, makes a profound difference. It highlights the importance of skills and tacit knowledge, which are often overlooked or suppressed when the purely theoretical is emphasized. Skills and tacit knowledge are modes of knowing the world. Practices, like field collecting, are how we navigate, engage with, and make sense of phenomena, which we make meaningful in diverging ways, including through representations. These diverging ways enable us to understand ourselves, each other, and our myriad knowledge systems, and our environment. In this way, plant science field photographs allow us to see our varying views of nature as they are constructed, practiced, and understood, and thus constitute an unmatched knowledge resource. Field photographs are dispersed throughout herbaria, natural history museums, and research institutes around the world. Their information value is directly tied to this dispersed nature. They are records that span the history of plant science as well as the history of the photograph. Recent research of mine has focused on how plant science research institutions are making their field photographs available both internally and externally to their institutions. My research has looked at the 6 largest herbaria in California, the 5 largest herbaria in the United States, as well as 5 herbaria outside of the United States. Relatively broadly speaking, data from most of the institutions indicate that little is being done with field photographs within plant science, though each institution is different. This is largely due to institutional priorities, organization, technology, and funding. There are exceptions. Some of the larger herbaria have begun to make their field photographs more accessible, though many have not. Both the Missouri Herbarium and the New York Botanical Garden Herbarium are among those who have. By way of Tropicos, which is a software platform that was developed by a Missouri affiliate in the 1980s, Missouri has made 167,000 field photographs available both internally and externally to their institution. Likewise, New York Botanical Garden is in the process of making their field photographs available through World Flora Online, which is funded by Google and the Arthur P. Sloan Foundation. New York currently has upwards of 60,000 field photographs that are accessible through their virtual herbarium. These will also be available through World Flora Online once it is launched in 2020, as well as through the Digital Public Library of America. Although field photographs are valuable as single records, they can provide a diversity of information. Although field photographs are valuable as single records that can provide a diversity of information, part of their value is in relation to each other and the collection material associated with them, like field books, field notes, specimen information, and plant specimens. All of these materials come out of the botanist field collecting and are part of this particular type of knowledge production. The value of these materials are in how they inform each other. Likewise, the value of plant science field photographs is not limited to plant science, rather extends across fields. In many ways, these are research gems that are largely hidden from view and access, though if made available, could broaden our understanding of ourselves as social creatures, whether as a brother or a botanist, a species among many, as well as enhance our understanding of nature and our future part of it. I will end with Helen Brand, taken from a text of hers on Australian land ownership. Collective picturing and storytelling about the land with its possibilities for emotional ladenness and material embeddedness is an inherent part of knowing. We must include our use of imaginaries in our accounts of knowledge. Field photographs that botanists take while out in the field contribute to and are part of constructing our imaginaries. Taken together, they knit an uneven, inconsistent, and heterogeneous view of nature that in some ways collides with science. They are not objective nor absolute. They are not fixed nor refined. They are irregular records of knowledge production, which do not necessarily fit nicely into plant science research. Though ubiquitous within research, in some ways they are outliers of research. Knowledge occurs in tandem and is tangential, as does movement through space, like field collecting. It would prove fruitful for plant science research to reimagine field photographs from their periphery, to include them within their knowledge perimeter and extend that perimeter to other fields. And then, just lastly, if you're interested in seeing more of Alain Léaugé's field photographs, this book of mine that I've been working on will be released through NYBG Press at the very end of December. Thank you.